I just had a hypothetical situation from my manager that says that I've got the fucking green light to go and say whatever the fuck I want. So Jake Paul, if you want to go, Logan Paul, if you want to go, then I guess you got to, put your hands in your pockets and man up, because you're talking shit. You're contacting my manager and saying that you want to fight. Well, guess what, buddy? I'm here. I'm going nowhere. You want to fight someone? You want to test yourself? Hey, I'm 0-0 as a boxer. You're saying you're 1-0, you're 2-0. I'm 0-0.
Michael Bisping accepts Jake Paul's challenge. Another week, another discussion about YouTube boxer Jake Paul. According to former UFC middleweight champion Michael Bisping, the management team of the younger Paul brother apparently reached out to the UFC Hall of Famer in order to set up some sort of fight. Speaking on his Believe You Me podcast, the Count responded to this offer, and to put it mildly, he accepted. Quote, "I'm here," Bisping said. "I'm going nowhere. You want to fight someone? You want to test yourself? Hey, I'm 0-0 as a boxer. You're saying you're 2-0, I'm 0-0. I'm almost 42 years old, I'm a former world champion, and I'll take you to school, my friend. I'll guarantee you this, you won't get out of 3 rounds. That's an absolute fact." That being said, as much as it would be fun to see Michael Bisping handle Jake Paul, this does not seem to be the fight that makes the most sense for Jake. There is also the issue of Michael Bisping only having one eye, so all in all this fight just seems logistically really hard to make. Sean O'Malley trolls Marlon Vera. At UFC Vegas 17 over the weekend, Marlon Vera had his first fight since his upset victory over Sean O'Malley earlier this year. Chito Vera took on former featherweight champ Jose Aldo, but would ultimately drop a one-sided decision. Following the fight, Sugar Sean took to his social media to troll Vera and maintain his stance that he was undefeated as a pro fighter. Quote, 12-0, Chito sucks, O'Malley wrote. Should have kicked his nerve. Obviously, this is a continuation of the idea that O'Malley only lost his fight to Vera due to a fluke injury sustained from a well-placed leg kick. This was not something that worked for Chito against Aldo, and only furthers the flawed mentality that Sean has. TJ Dillashaw responds to Jose Aldo's call-out. Following his win over Marlon Vera at UFC Vegas 17, Jose Aldo had an opponent in mind for his next fight, calling out former bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw. TJ is currently finishing up a USADA suspension after popping for EPO. He is eligible to make his return in January. Hearing these words from Aldo, TJ had no choice but to respond. Taking to Twitter, he said, quote, "I heard everyone is calling me out because they all know that's my belt." Unfortunately for Dillashaw, this remark was met with some serious backlash from the community, who seems to still be bitter about his drug testing transgressions. That being said, with Aldo coming off a win like he is, a fight with TJ makes sense for both men, with the winner likely being next in line for a title shot at 135 pounds. Jose Aldo's mystery tattoo. Staying on the topic of Jose Aldo, when he made his walk to the octagon on Saturday night, social media was buzzing about a new tattoo that he was sporting on his chest. However, this talk quickly turned into confusion, as after the fight, the tattoo had mysteriously vanished. As it turns out, the temporary tattoo was a tribute to the Brazilian Navy, whose boxing team he trained with before this fight. Given the strict nature of the UFC's restrictions on having any sort of sponsorships inside the cage, it is unclear at this time whether or not there will be consequences to him wearing the temporary ink, but one can only hope that he doesn't face any sort of fine or penalty for this small infraction. Wonderboy possibly injured again. After being bumped to the headlining spot of UFC Vegas 17 on short notice, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson was able to thoroughly dominate Jeff Neal en route to a decision win. In the fight, it was clear that Thompson was struggling with some sort of injury to his leg. He even showed up to do press obligations after the fight while using crutches.
Actually, after the 4th round, I thought it was my kneecap. I just felt this stiffness in my right leg, and I looked down, I saw this ball, and I thought it was my kneecap, so I tried to bend my knee. It ended up being muscle, so I think I tore my muscle, so now it's balled up in the bottom above my kneecap.
If this is the case, that is an extremely unfortunate turn of events for Wonderboy, who had been on the sidelines for over a year due to injuries. Hopefully whatever is going on is not too serious, and he can get back to action soon. After the fight, he called for a rematch with Jorge Masvidal, and that seems like a bout that the fans would love to see. Anthony Pettis enters free agency. Former lightweight champion Anthony Pettis earned his second straight victory at welterweight over the weekend against Alex Moreno. Leading into the fight, Showtime was open about the fact that this was the last fight on his UFC contract. After the fight, he expressed how unsure he was about his future in the promotion, especially given the recent roster cuts. Speaking after the bout, Anthony discussed his recent free agent status, saying, quote, "Obviously the UFC is where the best guys are at, so I'd love to fight in this organization still, but we'll see what happens. Contract negotiations are something that happens outside of my world. I have an agent to take care of that." What's interesting to note about this is that Pettis looks to be making a return to lightweight moving forward, which opens a ton of possibilities for potential opponents. The only question is whether that would be in the UFC or somewhere else. Donald Cerrone submits RDA twice. UFC fighters Donald "Cowboy" Cerrone and Rafael dos Anjos have twice faced off inside the octagon, with one of those being for the lightweight title. At the time, RDA was champ and quickly defeated the challenger in the first round, after besting Cerrone in their first outing too. These two legendary fighters met again over the weekend, but this time it was in the submission grappling circuits. Competing in Chael Sonnen's Submission Underground, their match had a bit of an unusual result. After competing and going into overtime, Cerrone managed to catch RDA in an armbar. However, after Dos Anjos protested the result, saying that he did not tap, the pair went at it one more time. Again, the result was the same, however, as Cowboy wound up with a second submission over the former champ. Although this was only a grappling match, it does make one wonder what would happen if the two met in the octagon for a third time, given the way things have gone for both of them in their recent fights.